Good morning, afternoon, or evening, y'all. My name is Shannon, and today we are going to be letting my TBR, jar, glass, whatever you want to call it, pick my October TBR. Now, if you guys saw my last video, you would know that this entire shelf is essentially my TBR because these are all the books I didn't pack away when we thought we were going to move. However, it doesn't look like we're going to be moving anymore, so this has just turned into my TBR shelf. But obviously, this isn't my entire October TBR, and I would like to narrow it down so I have a specific focus. I think I'm going to be picking 10 books just because I feel like I'm starting to get out of my reading slump, and I want to be ambitious for this month. Anyhow, let's just get started. A dark academia book. Okay, so this is obviously perfect for this month because it's October. Anywho, I definitely know what I'm going to pick. For my dark academia book, I'm going to have to go with Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I started this book back in April, but my book slump was kind of taking a hold of me at this point, so I didn't end up finishing it, but I absolutely adored Ninth House. I rated it 5 stars. If you are unaware what this series is about, it starts off with a girl named Galaxy, and she has recently been recruited to Yale to work among the secret societies operating within Yale to basically oversee them. And all of these secret societies are magic-based, which works out for Alex because she has the very, very special ability of being able to see ghosts without any spell to be cast on her for her to drink anything. She just always sees ghosts. And while all of this is happening, it's complicated, but there is someone that like teaches her how to do this, and they call him Virgil, obviously because of Dante's Inferno, if you know that reference, and then they call her Dante. He ends up going missing, and then there's a murder that happens on the night of an event with one of the secret societies, and Alex starts to look into it. It sounds really complicated, but it is so incredible, and it unfolded in ways I never ever thought it would, and I'm very excited to get into this. Next, A Friends to Lovers. For my Friends to Lovers pick, it's technically not Friends to Lovers. He is her manager for her comedy routine, but it is Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt, and she has always had a huge crush on her manager, and he is also a single dad, and I'm just very excited to see where this is going to go because I always love the single dad trope. I think it's so good, and I just love kids in general, but the kids in books are just usually so precious, and I'm very excited to get to this. A fantasy / sci-fi. Easy enough. For this fantasy sci-fi pick, I'm going to have to pick A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I have recently bought paperback copies of all of these books with the sole purpose of rereading and annotating them for my sister-in-law because I lent her the first book and she really enjoyed it, and she told me she enjoys having my annotations in there. And when I read those books, I had just gotten back into reading. My annotations aren't really good at all, and so I decided to reread them and re-annotate them for her, and I'm on to A Court of Wings and Ruin. This is my absolute favorite book in the entire series. I don't really want to give anything away, but revenge and like that kind of stuff I don't know, I really like seeing female main characters become ruthless, which sounds so weird, but I just absolutely adore seeing it, and such a good book. The premise of the first book, because obviously I'm not going to tell you the plot of this book, is that Farah goes into the woods basically because she has to hunt to keep her family alive, and she ends up killing this wolf, but it's not a wolf, it's a member of the Fae, and someone comes to her house to reckon for what she's done and is like, I will either kill you or you can come live with me. It started out as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, if that gets anyone interested, but it's an exceptional series, and I know a lot of people diss the first book. I don't really know why. I loved it entirely, but it's so good, and if you aren't feeling the first book, please push through because it gets so much better. Next, a book with an animal on the cover. That might be hard to achieve. I have an idea, but it's an ambitious pick. For this animal book, technically it's not a full animal on the cover, but it's like clearly a crow on the cover, so I'm gonna have to go with Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. A lot of Leigh Bardugo in here today. This is in the Grishaverse. Technically you should read Shadow and Bone first. I will not be doing that because I don't really care about the order. I watched the show before I knew it was a series, and so I feel like I'll be able to pick up on everything they're saying and like what they mean. I don't really know how to describe this book because obviously I haven't read it, but from what I've heard and what I've read, this book is about a group of people that come together in order to pull off an essentially impossible heist for, I don't remember the price, but I think it's either like $1 million or some of their currency in order to pull off this heist. And so he gets a whole group together, and I know it's going to be incredible, and I'm very excited to read it. Next, a book with a male main character. So I feel like that has to be a romance because I definitely don't read fantasy books with a male main character. So for this book, I think I'm going to choose The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. I really enjoyed the first book in this series, The Graham Effect, and this book is about Shane and Diana, and Diana kind of hates Shane, and he moves in right next door, and one day his ex shows up, and he ends up telling her that he is dating Diana in order to make her jealous or something, and so they start fake dating. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I greatly enjoy most of Elle Kennedy's books, and I'm excited to see how this one is. A book that starts with the letter of the month. I don't know that I have any. Turns out I do. So I'm gonna have to go with One Dark Window for this. This is starting to feel like a very ambitious TBR, and I'm starting to get intimidated, but I don't really know how to describe this book. Basically, Elspeth has this like dark magic within herself. I think it's because she survived some kind of disease that you're supposed to be killed if you have. I could be entirely wrong on that or be thinking about the wrong book, but I don't think I am. But she ends up trying to cure the town of like the dark magic and everything going on, and she ends up teaming up with the nephew of the king, who also happens to be guilty of treason, and it sounds really good, and I've heard literally incredible things about this series, so I am excited to start it. Okay, next one. A genre that you don't normally read. Perfect! 1 second. I just finished yesterday A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I really enjoyed it, and I think I want to read Good Girl, Bad Blood. I honestly was thinking about maybe starting this today, but I may be persuaded to put it off for a few days. This book is about Pippa, obviously. After solving the Andy Bell Salsing case, she has a lot of attention around her. She started a podcast because of it, but she's determined to put her like sleuthing behind her. However, someone goes missing in her town and no one seems to really be doing much of anything about it. And so she goes down the rabbit hole on this one, and it sounds really good, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Also, look at the flop. That's incredible. Okay, we have 7 books. We need 3 more. Jesus, I got like 5. A very spicy book. Okay, I can work with this. So, out of all of the authors on my shelf, I feel like it's obvious who I'm going to pick. Miss Penelope Douglas, obviously. So this book is about Casey and Jackson, and Casey has just come back to her small town because of some trouble she got herself in, and she's determined to stay out of it. However, Jackson is there, and she is the only girl who ever really said no to him, and so obviously he's very intrigued, very tempted by her, and things just kind of go on from there. I think they end up working together as well, but I could be wrong. But it sounds good, and as most Penelope Douglas books promise, it will likely be very spicy. Okay. I need to refill these. It's getting very, like, low. And enemies to lovers. So, while I would normally pick a fantasy book for this prompt, I'm going to pick a romance book just because we have a lot of fantasy on my TBR right now. And it is not just fantasy, but very in-depth, long fantasy books. And I don't want to overload myself and have me not end up reading them. So, I'm going to be choosing the light, fluffy romance, I have heard that it is, of The Hating Game. I, again, have watched this movie. I'm so sorry. It was before I got back into reading and I didn't know. But this book is about Lucy and Josh, and they despise each other. Obviously, it's not a real enemies to lovers, but as I stated, we're not doing that right now. They are assistants to the 2 CEOs of the company they work for, and their CEOs hate each other as well. It's just a whole thing. And as it turns out, they are both up for a specific promotion at their jobs, and so they definitely kind of take their eneminess to a new level and like trying to best the other one in order to get the job, and things get complicated, and I feel like I'm really going to enjoy this, actually. Or at least I hope I will. But I'm excited to read it nonetheless. Okay, this is our last prompt. A 2-word title. I know what I want to pick, unfortunately. It is time for me to once again pick up Normal People by Sally Rooney. I started this book back in February. As you may be able to see, I didn't get far in. I am not gonna lie, I was genuinely really enjoying it, but it's kind of like the same as my relationship with Magnolia Parks. I was really enjoying it, but I wanted to legitimately throttle Connell all the time. He sucks, like, majorly, so much, and it was just making me really frustrated, and I didn't want to read it at the time. But as I stated in my last video, for some reason this book gives me fall vibes, and I really want to watch the TV show as well. So I think it's time for me to pick this book back up. For those of you that don't know, this book is about Marianne and Connell, and they go to the same school. Connell is incredibly popular and well liked, where Marianne is the epitome of a loner, and Connell's mother, I believe, works at Marianne's house, so they kind of see a little bit more of each other and things kind of happen. And this book spans over years of their relationship and all of the toxicity that goes on within their relationship, and I'm very interested to see where it goes from where I last read. But yeah, those are all of the books on my TBR for this month. I feel really good about it. Granted, I acknowledge the fact that the odds of me actually reading all of these books is kind of low, because this is thousands and thousands of pages, and I am still working out of my book slump as of right now. But I really hope I get to all of them. You guys should definitely stick around by subscribing to see if I do end up reading all of these in my October reading wrap-up. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All of my social media is linked down below. I hope you guys are all having an absolutely extraordinary morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.